Oh, Desk of Little Faith it seems here. 1-1 at the moment. HeroesHearth Esports is able to tie up the series between them and Ballistix, of course. And gentlemen, that was a pretty damn good performance from HeroesHearth.
I feel like I'm going against everything that I said. I mean, Ballistix, they struggle against aggressive compositions, and HeroesHearth literally comes out with about as aggressive as you can possibly get. I'm like, nah, they can't do this, and, well, I'm wrong.
The double isolation comp, the tank play from McIntyre and Ishbu saved so many lives, but also, like you mentioned, just absolutely played into that aggressive style. I was so down behind that.
It was like a lot of the front line was really a focal point. Jongha, I feel like, had a really rough game. Sometimes this happens for him. But Dread, I want to come to you before we actually get into our next maps, etc., and things like that, and see what you've got for us.
I mean, this is the game-winning kind of decision-making on the side of HeroesHearth Esports, and the most important thing is we kind of move forward in slow motion here is going to be how effective HeroesHearth is at killing and putting damage onto the side of Ballistix, and they take advantage of this. As you see, McIntyre in the lower section mounts up, and as they've zoned past this choke, there's no way to get to the Dragonite itself. So because of that, they're going to go ahead and drop the stage dive down below, and as long as they zone off of this choke, there is a 0% chance that Ballistix realistically can make a major play at that point in time. They try and drop the root to zone off. Is not going to function out, but what this does cause is a lot of panic, and suddenly Hooligan stuck on an island there up in the top lane by himself, unable to escape, and it was a great decision making in your kind of map sense and why we see stage dive so prominent from HeroesHearth Esports, and also why they're so great at Dragonshire.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff overall. The orchestration of this tactic in particular, that move, was very, very cool to see in the back there from HeroesHearth.
It's even cooler because what that does in that type of situation, let's say that doesn't net a Dragonite. Most people don't realize that most of the time, Ballistix had a very optimal situation. They were fighting over a shrine that they desired. That increases the probability of a Dragonite by, I don't know the exact number because you can't exact it, but it's a lot. Your odds of getting it are drastically higher. And so, but even if you don't get that Dragonite there, you still get to choose the fight over the shrine you desire if you're HeroesHearth. You're just down a stage dive, which isn't really that big of a cost in terms of team fighting.
I'm going to pick a number. I'm going to say 83%. There you go.
Nailed it.
Not a clue, but where are we going? Because this is important, Dread.
Yeah, it's important because keep in mind, I said at the beginning that we got an adjustment in bans from Skya Foundry on Ballistix. They have not banned that map against anybody else. They have banned Braxis Holdout unless against a Korean team so far. So it is still an option that HeroesHearth Esports is more than comfortable selecting if they end up, having the opportunity to do so.
But for now, another very comfortable map for HeroesHearth. Another one of their best here. Tomb of the Spider Queen picked up instead. So not going for the Braxis potential sneak pick there, and still sticking it to mostly familiar ground.
All right, we're getting into the draft then. Game number 3 in this best of 5. 1-1 at the moment between Ballistix and HeroesHearth Esports.
Well, we've seen the Garrosh priority. We've seen Maiev now have another effect here against Ballistix, and Ballistix obviously struggling against the Maiev as we saw versus Tempo Storm, and now here against HeroesHearth in a first ban on Tracer. I did not expect that, which again means either Maiev, which Ballistix, we still want to see if that actually exists, but the Garrosh Malfurion is definitely going to be in here for Ballistix.
So Maiev has been played by Ballistix once, and it did win during this tournament, but the fact that they have been it is so rare considering for them. So I would be curious to see if HeroesHearth that do feel that necessary to ban out here.
If they didn't, I would expect the power play with something like a Garrosh, assuming you get the Maiev, we get the Johanna in our rotation with the Malfurion or the Jaina to back it up, assuming it's going to be a first pick. If not, that's going to be, ideally a Johanna actually, or a Malfurion now for Ballistix. Either way, I expect HeroesHearth to transition into that JoJo, unless they do get the Maiev, because Johanna Maiev, it's not they don't have synergy, but it's a little bit less kill potential opportunity. But double tether, double pull in between Condemn and Tether is pretty difficult to deal with.
There's also the factor that we actually just didn't see Maiev picked up in the first game, so this might just be a map where the teams just don't have it in their minds for their compositions, at least at the start here. But I agree with you, I think Johanna could be really solid as a first pick here with Garrosh banned out. If not, Malfurion has always been way up there in the picks and will likely come in as a first pick for one of these two teams.
I just wonder if, obviously we're still waiting for this pick, I just wonder if HeroesHearth is willing to deviate from the norm of not early picking Jaina. They love the Jaina, they love what it does, and HeroesHearth back in the day, without Malfurion, it might be the Malfurion Jaina pick that we see. We might even see the Johanna come in here for HeroesHearth, although I think they're comfortable on other things, but Jaina seems likely in this. But the old HeroesHearth draft on this battleground was that Hanzo. Keep in mind, Hanzo's auto attack range has been nerfed, but Crowan used to sit in the middle of the map, in between those turn-in spots, and dare anybody to come near him, and would single-handedly control games on Tomb of the Spider Queen. But we've seen Heroeshearth have a few minor shifts in their priorities with that Jaina in particular.
Nice.
I have Blaze. Not the Johanna yet. They're trying to lock down that solo lane here for good reason. We've seen, even in the early game of last series, the Blaze was pretty decent. It suffered a little bit once we got to late game.
So I was going to highlight that I feel like that rotation is going to state the mentality that we see Heroeshearth in, depending on what priority they want to go with. And the fact that we got the Maiev, they are very confident after what they experienced in that last game, you know, being able to get that team fight. And suddenly I would be a lot more, you know, kind of intimidated if I am Ballistix, because again, I think Arthalon is one of the better Maevs that we kind of have within this tournament. I think it was showed there in the last game.
Is this Johanna Hanzo? What do you think?
It has to be Johanna.
that would
Johanna
be
has
great.
been the natural counter unless you go on Nubarak, because she has the Iron Skin. It's basically, hey, look, you tether me, I'm going to go there. We've seen some, and I think one of these gentlemen alluded to it as well, is that the minute that tether breaks, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody at Western. It might have been Dignitas. They ran the Maiev, they got the tether in, and then they ran like a Stitches. They're like, well, I know you're walking away from me. You use that. I don't see Stitches here because I don't think that's the way Heroeshearth likes to play, but Johanna seems highly likely. But they go with the Genji instead of the Hanzo.
Genji still has been one of the more popular heroes for Ballistix, so choosing to go for that little more aggressive style, a little more burst blow-up style, other than the Hanzo, like you said, with the range nerfs, could have had struggles. Genji himself has received multitudes of nerfs throughout his time in the Nexus, but against a Blaze, Genji can have issues and has had in the past.
I mean, it's important to note that the Genji has been our highest prioritized, well, our highest chosen assassin, but has had a pretty abysmal win rate at this tournament so far, correct?
Abysmal kind of sums it up pretty gracefully because it's 37.5%. It's not good. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, 12 and 20 in terms of games.
But keep in
Not
mind,
ideal.
that's not very far off from his league average of right around like 40, low 40s.
That's true. That's an excellent point.
With Malfurion off the table, I can't help but wonder if Zeratul is a question for Heroeshearth to get the ban based on the same thought process with the Uther opportunities later on. We have seen Jungha be very comfortable with some unorthodox offlaners, even on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen here, but instead a bit more traditional, going ahead, instead ban out the Sonya. That being said, I do expect to see BBJ transferring over to the Uther. Not only is it a great synergy with their composition, but I think it, you know, deals with Genji rather well, and it's one of his better heroes.
There is actually a hero who we mentioned in one of the earlier series, Stukov, could also potentially come in due to his amazing combo with the Warden's Cage if they decide to go for that this time, and his lurking arm directly in the center.
Who was it who was running the Phoenix solo lane? I think it was on this map, no?
Are we talking about at MSB or
This
at
event,
MSB.
It's happened once this event. I
there
can't
was
remember
one
who it was.
I think that might have been one of the teams no longer with us.
Rip in pieces.
But however,
Fair play.
Ballistix, I believe in a previous game, when they run the Genji, you still have to have wave clear, and you need an SDE hero. Phoenix fit that role for him. It's a safe hero, has the wave clear, has kill potential, and you need some sort of wave clear. Johanna obviously gives you some, but you need something else from that backline. And again, for Heroeshearth, that comes into play here as well, because Jaina, again, high priority, but we might see the Li Ming. We might see something different, and we're about to find out.
So support, main tank, range damage, lots of roles here to fill for Heroeshearth. And you already mentioned the Hanzo could be fit in, but we're seeing Gul'dan and ETC coming in. The ETC was absolutely a home run last game, but Gul'dan is basically most of their follow-up damage to the Maiev. But Maiev, of course, if she can be protected, then she is absolutely, doesn't need too much help. So as long as they can keep Gul'dan safe behind the tanks and Maiev protected, which is why I agree with you on the Uther, could be a huge home run here. This will be a pretty decent team fight comp.
I would really like a Leoric as the offlane here for Ballistix, because it's an easy sacrifice to be able to kind of throw into the early game skirmishes, especially if Maiev gets the upper hand, but then caters to the long team fights at the late game that Gul'dan's going to be able to provide. It's very high impact when it comes to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Overall, I think that would be a huge power play here for Ballistix. It also hurts if Uther is the selection. Uther can easily get baited into Divine Shielding within Tomb. That's not a profitable trade for the Uther, and more importantly, the spread damage, because that Leo can apply in the compositions he caters to, is really difficult to deal with.
I think that point you brought up, post 13, Leo, getting back onto that Gul'dan is hard, but will that beat the Phoenix here? There's the Leo. We get Chromie.
Hey.
Boy, I tell you.
Chromie Genji is a wonderful composition in terms of absolute polarization. Sometimes it can be a dominant comp where you will just wipe people off the face of the map, and other times you're wondering why have teams even attempted this, because it can be punished so hard, but it can also face roll.
This is one of the compositions that I absolutely detest with the Genji Chromie, and it's been played multiple times here. It's been played multiple times in League format, and you are 100% correct, and it is very polarizing, and it's either going to be very successful or very bad. And Chromie at this tournament, I think, has only won 1 game, maybe 2 at this point. It's not good, right? And this is a battleground. We've seen it before. We're going to see Deckard in here, but...
The sleep could be pretty decent here, especially against the Leo if they can catch him pre-Wraith Walk.
Dread, thoughts?
I'm going to be honest. I feel like that Deckard pick alone might be the reason they lose this game. And I would argue it's because, so what is the thought process with a Chromie and a Genji? It's to be able to poke and prod at Genji, be the executor whenever you get them low.
Right.
Gul'dan constantly is towing back and forth with ever that healing opportunity. Deckard, one of the best to make sure he keeps up. But when it comes to that one-shotting capability to turn that fight, that is the win condition for Ballistix. Deckard has nothing to do other than stay a while and listen. Long setup time, Johanna's going to Iron Skin, stop that all day.
So, gonna go to predictions now, and careful, Dread, there's a spider next to you. That
is actually a little eerie, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that Deckard single-handedly made me go, I don't know if I can do it, but it's, when they played their style and had the Maiev in the last game, they ended up playing very, very well, so I'm sticking with HeroesHearth Esports. But seriously, that Deckard was so high risk.
I would be going against everything I believe in if I voted for a Genji Chromie, and I'm going to have to go with HeroesHearth this time around. So far, I'm 0 for 2. Let's make it 0 for 3 maybe.
Actually, all of us but him are 0 for 3, or 0 for 2.
I share the Dread's concerns, but I'm also going for HeroesHearth here. I really think that if the frontline protects the Deckard well enough, then his CC follow-up, as long as they can get through to Johanna, will just be absolutely insane.
I like how you're over there ready. Like, yes, I'm ready.
Are you ready? Are you ready? It's time to vote for Ballistix. I'm not voting against the Chromie. I think this is one of the most oppressive, potentially oppressive compositions you can ever run up against. It can be an irritating thing to play against. I'm definitely going to go for Ballistix here. And the votes keep swinging back at home as well. 54% going over to HeroesHearth. You're as flip-floppy as these guys are, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Twitch chat. Let's check in with our commentators to bring you game at number 3. Gentlemen, flip-flopping, or are we sticking? Where are you at?
Yeah, I detect a bit of a theme here.
Yeah.
It's like a last team that wins. That's what they want.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving.
You're very constant in your predictions, and so far I think you're dominating the desk there.
Thanks very much. One point.
50% win rate.
Yes. All right, boys, have fun.
Are we sure they're not dolphins? Because we are flipping back and forth. Let's get ready for game number 3 as we head to Tomb of the Spider Queen. HeroesHearth coming in here and playing the Gul'dan, but the poke composition coming out from Ballistix, will it be enough?
Yeah, and Jay already talked a bit about Chromie. She has only 2 wins and 9 losses, and Ballistix is trying to change that. With Magi on Malfurion, on the left, Hooligan again on Johanna. We have SC on Genji, Jongha on Leoric, and SD on Chromie. Ladies and gentlemen, Ballistix!
Playing Maiev will be Arthlon, McIntyre on Blaze, Crowan on Gul'dan, Ishbu on ETC, BBJ on Deckard. It's HeroesHearth!
Already a couple of changes here. Fel Flame build on the side of Gul'dan, and of course for Korea we have the standard Korean level 1 talent for Leoric as well, going straight for Austin's Renewal. Very typical for the Korean region and the Korean league to go for the extra sustain throughout your level 1, and that of course is going to help him a bit up at the bot lane. Now Ballistix has played Leoric twice and they won both of these games, but as we already saw in the last game, having a 100% track record until now doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a great game. HeroesHearth definitely is starting to tweak down those win ratios for Ballistix heavily with the Dragonshire match.
I do like what the Leo pick will bring to their composition though. First off, Wave Clear when Neopeasants comes online at level 4, and also the Entomb at level 10 is great against a Gul'dan, even at Deckard as well, if you're able to get that isolation. I do worry whether or not BBJ will be able to get those stay a while listens, but already we're having a brawl between the two as Arthlon's wanting to kick off a fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of aggression in the 2 drafts, and that's what I really can appreciate in the series. After the initial game where Heroes Hearth had a lot of trouble, they came out swinging in game number 2, and now Ballistix is kind of following a bit of a similar style, going for Chromie to try and put on the early damage, and on Tomb of the Spider Queen, of course. Genji is always fantastic, since he easily can transition between these lanes. Put a bit of extra pressure, for example, onto the bot lane. And he's already sitting there trying to get some extra damage into Blaze, which would allow Leoric to dominate the lane quite a lot.
Now, I'm keeping an eye on both the stacks for Chromie and, of course, Goldan. Right now, looking at Chromie, she's currently sitting at 12 stacks, while we have 8 for the Fell Flame build coming online here for Goldan. So we'll keep you updated with that as the Giants are being taken away here in the bottom lane, as Genji will get those pushing in.
Yeah. I talked a bit to Heroes Hearth in the break, and Crone in particular was actually quite optimistic, and he said, yeah, these guys are beatable. They were a bit worried about the first game, but then with a victory in game number 2, they said, okay, we're feeling it right now. We're pretty optimistic.
Good.
They look beatable, we feel strong. And especially Ishbu was actually really happy. He said like, okay, finally I don't have a 0% win record on a Nubarak anymore. Said he loves the hero, but couldn't really reflect that with his win rates up to now. So he was pretty happy about that win in particular.
He's been spamming that Nubarak in Hero League. Played a couple games with him in the past, and man, can he really force a lot of fights. So we'll see if we get more of that later on. For now, Ishbu is playing the ETC and controlling space pretty darn well, but we're getting some turn-ins from both of our teams already. 24-13, Ballistix in the lead here with their drop-offs as they continue to climb towards that level 6, that level 7, as they continue to poke around. As just a quick update for you, 20 stacks on Chromie, 10 there for Goldan as they attempt to keep getting their damage up.
And of course we know that for Malfurion players, it's usually like pretty common by now to go for the vengeful roots, but we have in this case deep roots taken on level 4 for Ballistix. So trying to get a bit more zoning done, just increasing the radius of the roots and also the duration of them. And that can really help you if you're trying to lock someone in a place or zone them out completely so that they can set up a kill.
Now, what I'm curious about is who's going to peel off first to try and grab these night camps. Typically, you see that around level 6, level 7, but hang on here. It's actually a fight in the bottom lane as Blaze will go ahead and pop his Pyromaniac to stay alive, getting that resistance popped up. BBJ coming in to give him some heals, while Zhongha is actually taking a pretty decent amount of damage here. Almost gets tethered in, but both teams should be able to escape.
It was a close call, but a nice little brawl that we had here at the start. The rotation in the mid and top is still ongoing. But you're absolutely right. The night camps are going to be crucial here, but of course, both of the teams are not trying to go for that early turn-in. And while we're talking about the turn-in, I mean, there's a lot of tools, especially on Ballistix side, how they can interrupt those. Chromie, always fantastic in that spot. Malfurion with the Moonfire is just great. And you have also on top of that even Genji. So it's going to be difficult for Heroes Hearth to complete that.
Heroes Hearth getting a few gems off though, jump up to 29. And what you just mentioned about Ballistix can be the same for Heroes Hearth as well. The poke coming in from Goldan will be plentiful between the Corruption and the Fell Flame. EGC, if you need to, you can get there and get that knockback. You have Maev as well, who can drop down her teleport and just be enough to stop resistance. And then you can't forget about Blaze as well, dropping fire and oil everywhere there. So we'll keep an eye on those two teams that continue to go for those drop-offs. In terms of gems being available, they do have the turn-in. We have 42 for Ballistix, and we have 41 for Heroes Hearth. So it's definitely possible to get that drop-off. It's just been so difficult between our teams.
Yeah, a lot of pressure here already. Once again, the double warrior setup that we have for Heroes Hearth, but all of a sudden he's in trouble, and he goes down. ETC is dead. The first blood in the game as Ballistix confirms the first kill, grabs the level 7, and is now going to try to turn in on the back of it.
They're going to try and get that drop-off, but so far Heroes Hearth is delaying just enough. Don't forget, though, level 8 about to hit for Chromie as well, as we are half a level away, which means that Ballistix can force the issue if they want to. Temporal Loop is definitely fine here if you want to try and grab Goldan or even Deckard Cain. You have to be aware of Bunker later on, but it is still a major tool that can be used here. And then if you don't want to go that route, Slowing Sands, just as great for controlling those turn-ins.
It's definitely one of the power spikes that could help them to get that first turn-in. And we all know, of course, that on this map, it's so awesome if you get that first turn-in, you snowball to level 10, get the second turn-in right afterwards. So that's something that the Ballistix is going to try and do. And they decide in favor of Slowing Sands here for Chromie.
Slowing Sands picked up. As we have McIntyre trying to go for that turn-in, deciding to go ahead and push out that bottom lane. And finally, Ballistix will get the turn-in to the top side and be able to get the first Webweaver group of the game.
And this is going to be crucial now. How much can Ballistix do with this? Also want to highlight real quick that we have on level 7, 4 Deckard Kanai's Cube taken. We saw in the games before Emerald as an option to reduce the healing power. But now Deckard more so thinking about reducing the damage output on the other side. So a bit of an adjustment that Heroes Hearth has here. And now we have the Webweaver coming in, Slowing Sands already in play as Ballistix is trying to look to at least take the frontline towers here.
Solid pick up there against Chromie in particular, trying to stop her damage from poking down so Genji can't get the execute that the analysts were talking about during this pre-phase. Alright, the Web Weavers are at the walls right now for the middle wave and starting to work on those turrets, while the rest of Ballistix actually putting a lot of pressure on that bottom wave as they're looking to break down the turrets as quick as possible. Not doing too much though, as Heroes Hearth is showing they got some pretty decent wave clear.
Yeah, but it's a lot of time that they're spending down here. This was at the top lane. We have Chromie now also helping out the next Web Weaver. And just look at the experience. If Ballistix is able to grab the early level 10 and then either complete a second turn in or get a few kills, they would set themselves really far ahead here, especially if they can get these kills and take a few of the gems of Heroes Hearth away.
They might actually just get a whole entire fort. This fort is completely being pushed in here as it's going down to under half health. Finally, Chrome comes away the long route to finally start doing the wave. But that fort, it's going down.
Yeah, and Hooligan had some great zoning there because Heroes Hearth was trying to rotate to the top, but Johanna immediately putting a wedge into that small point here. And whenever Heroes Hearth was trying to go in, there was always that Johanna just waiting with a Chromie to back her off. So really well executed by Ballistix, and they get rewarded by the fort that you've been talking about. An entire level lead as well.
The woes of being behind, a heroic ability there. Too much clear. Heroes Hearth cannot force the issue. They lose a fort because of it. And now Ballistix has enough gems for that turn in. 58 out of the 55 they need available here to go ahead and drop it off. They're starting now to do so, but Heroes Hearth has level 10, and they have that poke that we talked about earlier. So they should be able to slow this down and maybe even force a fight. Looking at Arthlon, actually, as he heads in and tries to grab Chromie, but unable to do so.
Really strategic game right now. Only a single kill as we are heading into towards the 8-minute mark. The North American team is now trying to get that turn in. Once again, Zhongha up there at the front. No heroics being used yet, but they're looking for the engage. Iron Skin already popped on the side of Hooligan.
Hooligan dancing around, coming back here to heal on up as well. 42 gems were dropped off. 13 more will be needed for that turn in. And we actually have a pick. A fear comes out as we're going to have Genji take it away with Heroes Hearth getting their first kill of the map.
Krone and Arthalon absolutely on point there. The Horrify comes out and the tether is in and Genji goes down, and that's the chance for Heroes Hearth to get the turn in. They get the Web Weavers and they can now take the lead in the experience if they play their cards right.
This was pivotal. Heroes Hearth needed to get this turn in. You never want to go down 2 turn-ins against your opponent. Typically, you're going to start losing forts, start to fall behind in the game. This keeps them at an even footing with their opponents, and now they can even make plays to take a lead in experience. Heroes Hearth begins to group up in every single lane. We have Golden on the top, we have ETC and Deckard holding the middle, and Blaze starting to look at the bottom lane.
Blaze is going to try and take down that fort while the rest of the team is keeping busy in the middle. And Entomb is there. The kill against Gul'dan. He goes down early. A pivotal for Ballistix, and they're trying to go for the double. They're already going for BBJ, and he is low. Deckard Kane is down, and Ishbu is target number 3.
Ishbu able to grab the gems and get away, so success there for Heroes Hearth. But being down 2 members while you're going for a push leaves your opponents in a good position to clear out those lanes, and they immediately do so. Ballistix gets the middle, and they grab the top.
It's one of the reasons why they actually didn't try to follow Ishbu, because they realized that they could go in and defend the Web Weavers. But now Leoric is down, and that's of course a problem because there's no one else at that bot lane. Heroes Hearth with the push, they have to back off a little bit, but still a great kill for them.
That was 20 gems as well.
Yeah.
Completely falling here for Ballistix, meaning that they're going to be a little bit behind their turn-ins. They still have one available, but remember, they would have had 40 gems there instead, so a bit of a big bite there coming from them, as Heroes Hearth will have their own turn-in available afterwards. Now, Zhongha should be back soon. Looks like he actually is there, as be able to come in on Spooky Ghost form.
It's going to be also really difficult, again, it's going to be difficult for them to get kills for Heroes Hearth at this, with also the timeout, with now the Ice Block being available. That's a lot of tools that Ballistix has to keep crucial heroes alive in those big fights now, and that has to be a concern for them. But we still have that mosh pit, and that can be the game changer. If Ishbu finds the absolute perfect mosh, they could just take a complete team wipe from that.
Mosh pit and Horrify, the 2 big ones here for Heroes Hearth that need to connect at the perfect time. Arthlon slowing down Zhongha at the bottom. Only a total of 10 more gems need to go in for Ballistix, and they'll be able to start pushing in those waves. Ishbu controls the middle wave here, but he has to be careful. The slowing sands comes out every time to control that front line.
And he's doing really well with that too. It makes it very dangerous for Heroes Hearth to engage here, especially with Malfurion and his deep roots on level 4. That's going to allow them just lock them down. YF with the escape here. And Ballistix is actually controlling a lot of the space down here.
It's very tense between these two. The control is just a little bit too much, but finally they find a pick here on Chrome in the top left. She comes with the timeout, and there's the N2. Oh my gosh, to stay a while and listen as well coming out. No one's fallen yet, but finally slightly. Goldan gets picked off.
Chromie, on the other hand, gets also taken out by Maiev. The Horrify hit after the timeout was activated. So that was a cooldown that didn't yield any results for Heroes Hearth. It is a trade at this point, though, but we still have the turn in. It is for the North Americans.
Still impressive that they got that turnaround there. The Goldan getting picked up as Chromie looked like she was desperately going to go down without any trade-off. So the 1-for-1, Ballistix and Heroes Hearth able to continue to come back and forth, but Heroes Hearth is looking to push down.
It was so unfortunate for Crow in particular because he dropped that Horrify and it was just half a second too late and didn't really connect. And then Chromie lived for much longer. They could engage and they get the kill against Gul'dan. But here again, here's the push, and that's the moment where Heroes Hearth is going to try and get that massive lead experience. An early level 16 would be great for them, and they're already going for the fort. Ballistix, they know that they have to do something. They are going in. Iron Skin already popped. The bunker is being dropped here as Heroes Hearth is trying to get the fort, and this one will surely fall.
Gotta call out McIntyre, coming around from the back left, threatening a full engage with a jet propulsion and just body blocking Hooligan. That allowed Heroes Hearth to siege upon that fort and eventually take it. And they're gonna get two with this push here. The bottom lane already broken down from earlier, and they're gonna jump up in that experience here as they get close to that 16 that you were mentioning. But there is still a small window for Ballistix. They can force the issue here if they want to.
But we have 66 gems for Heroes Hearth. They can get another turn in. If they now get the level 16 and then can control the space, they might be able to get another objective. A kill would help as well, and they're already trying to find it. Hooligan needs to be careful here. Still has his Iron Skin available, and Leoric Wraith walks away.
Yeah, Junghan was a bait there, but no one from Heroes Hearth overstepped, so he could get that in Entomb. Meaning he just took some damage overall, and we're gonna have some gems being dropped off. Hooligan gets it, and now Ballistix with another turn-in for the game.
Ballistix was really aggressive there. They wanted to get the turn-in before Heroes Hearth hits level 16. Now at this point, they still have to take it back just a notch and wait patiently until the Web Weavers come in. They still need a bit more experience. They don't want to fight now. Heroes Hearth has the advantage, but it's only a small time window that they have. So they are looking for an engage, but Ballistix is not going to give it to them.
Yeah, they put Genji in the bottom lane. He has the most mobility. He can get away, but also soak that lane for that 16. And finally, there we go. It connects, and you see it immediately. Ballistix steps forward, realizing that, okay, it's time to siege here and do our best here and try and take down this fort. And they are doing their best to focus Gul'dan. Crowin is dancing around those sandblasts as much as he can.
And Chromie completing the quest, 13.5 minutes in, is firing away, and now the Echo comes in play too. So the double sandblast are just whipping across the battlefield as we have still a push going up at the top lane. And Crone is reacting to it. He's the one moving up. He has the wave clear, and he's going to stop it.
He has to. Him and McIntyre in particular, whenever we have that Entomb come out, have to watch out for that Chromie damage with the Echo coming in there just a little bit too much to be able to blow through any target they want. So you want to make sure you have that bunk to jump into it, especially to get out of that Entomb. Hooligan doing his best here to control the concave here on the side, but Arthlon poking back, being annoying, threatening that Chromie, but Ballistix is getting the upper hand. They've gotten the fort.
Yeah, and Ballistix, they have to be careful. They want to play the poke game at this point, and they need to be so careful of Ishbu. If he gets a good mosh pit off at any point in time, it's going to be dangerous. There's a very limited amount of interrupts available for Ballistix.
It's actually insane to me how close it's gotten between these two teams. Game number 1, game number 2, a little bit more in favor of Ballistix in game number 1. Heroes Hearth a little bit control in game number 2, but game 3, we're looking for a fight here. As here comes an Entomb, a Horrify comes out afterwards, but Decker Kane, he goes down.
Deckard is down, and here comes the cage as Heroes Hearth is looking for the counter kill. They don't find it yet. There's still Chromie to be considered, but ETC falls first, and at the last moment, there's another kill against Maiev. It looks like Heroes Hearth is going down. They don't find the kill against SC, but Blaze falls too, and here comes Chromie. Bodies Crone, takes Gul'dan down, and completes the team wipe.
It's a full team wipe there, and they can move straight into a dragon and even go for a turn, and immediately taking out Decker Kane right away. No healer being available for Heroes Hearth. They had to get a money mosh pit, and they get a decent one, but look at SDE. He turns around and blows up ETC with a sandblast coming in, and that will be lights out for Heroes Hearth as the rest of the members fall one by one by one. Ballistix able to clean up all 5, looking for a boss, and now a turn-in.
Heroes Hearth just couldn't complete the kill. They were trying so hard to get that one kill to set things off, and it did not work in their favor. Leoric in particular survived for ages, and his Ominous Wraith and the Royal Focus helped him, of course, to reduce that damage output, and that kept Ballistix in that play. The Tranquility coming through here. Great performance in the last fight by Ballistix, and now they are ready to reap what they saw. We have an entire level lead for them. The boss pushing to the top lane. Web Weavers also timed with a push, and Ballistix, they want the keep. They want the 20. They want to make sure that Heroes Hearth has no chance to recover here.
Heroes Hearth takes control here, looking for the wave. Oh, Oh my gosh, Gul'dan gets blown up into a Chromie combo, and Genji flying in to get the pick.
Ballistix with a kill, and now the 5 versus 4. They're looking for a follow-up, and they're going for McIntyre.
Again?
Mac is low. He tries to get away, but here comes Leoric.
Leoric chasing here. Oh, but the stay a while. Listen from BBJ will hold 3 down, but Chromie sieging from afar makes BBJ back up.
With a kill against Gul'dan, HeroesHearth, they know they are in trouble. They let the keep fall, but that boss, the Web Weaver, still moving through the top lane. They completely ignore the middle, they ignore the bottom, because Ballistix wants to go for the core here. They have nearly level 20. The Storm Talents are coming in as Ballistix is trying to take the lead in the series.
Gul'dan will be here in 9 seconds, but Genji, he wants to get kills now, and he finds the Decker Kane. He turns the relics to McIntyre. McIntyre drops a bunker. There is a mosh pit in the back left. It grabs a couple. It grabs 3. Condemn, though, stops that mosh pit.
They have the mosh pit, but they didn't have the damage. ETC falls. He's trying to delay things, but the core is falling as well. Down to 50% as Ballistix is going for it. They're trying to take the 2-1 lead, and there is nothing to stop them. Ballistix, they take down Maya. They take the core, they take the game, and they take the lead in the best of 5.
HeroesHearth really hanging in there until we saw that fight in that bottom lane where they got 5 kills. Ballistix able to set up the nail in the coffin by grabbing the boss, going for the full turn-in. And oh my gosh, the way they deleted Gul'dan, the Entomb into the Chromie combo into Genji, it was flawless.
Especially at that top lane, that additional kill against Gul'dan just set everything off in favor of in favor of Ballistix. I actually think that without that insta-kill, there's a good chance that through the wave clear that Gul'dan has, they can hold on. They will probably lose the keep, but it's very unlikely that Ballistix actually takes the core. But that quick kill, that was all that Ballistix needed.
Well, they're able to get it. Let's go to our panelists here who have thoughts about that game for sure.
Absolutely, Ballistix with the 2-1 at the moment, and you know the panel here said that this composition could potentially be hit and miss. It feels like Chromie got a hit in this one, and I feel like the Leoric pick with the Entomb was a big enabler to allow that hit to happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring that back a little bit to the support decision making as well on the side of HeroesHearth Esports to commit into the stay a while and listen, because that puts them in a position to always have to get that in a 1-to-1 trade. And that being said, I talked about Uther, you know, that's not very optimal whenever he gets that. It's the exact same when looking at stay a while and listen, and even then half the time, again, it was unable to get off.
For me in that game, the hero was absolutely Johanna. She shut down so many attempts of HeroesHearth to get that combo off. And then by that point, like you said, the amount of pressure that Ballistix were dropping onto HeroesHearth meant they couldn't set up. So the initial setup was denied, immediately followed by any kind of counter setup being denied. It was just absolute domination.
If you take that Gul'dan and turn it into a Jaina, which is something that HeroesHearth normally runs, I feel like composition looks so much better. Mosh Pit with no burst damage felt so lackluster.
Right.
It's just he danced, everything looked good. There was only one interrupt, one person that could interrupt, and Johanna. And it's just like, it faded out. It was, instead of like a rock song, it was like a lullaby. You know? Like there was nothing hard about it.
Dread, show us what you got.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and just start out with a pause here, because the first thing we need to highlight is, again, based on the idea of when the Entomb comes in, who is going to be not only the kill target, but how are the members of HeroesHearth going to even hold off here? And because BBJ, as you see him kind of stepping forward in a moment, Leoric is going to come down and just get a very big Entomb onto him. And normally, you know, that would be pretty okay, but the biggest thing to look at is this mini map down here. If you see where I'm circling, that is Blaze onto the side lane, right? And again, without going with Uther in that double save, then Bunker is 100% the tool they have to get in a response. So as we move forward, look at how everybody moves up to risk this turn-in, but Blaze is still nowhere near that skirmish. If HeroesHearth want any opportunity of holding their own in those fights without the stay a while and listen positioning, they have to have Bunker there. And that is, I mean, this is the beginning of the end, because 60 or 88 gems exist in the hands of HeroesHearth Esports. Once they lose this 5-man wipe, the fight is nearly over. And losing Decker before it starts means about 0 response. That's just a Genji dream right there.
Yeah, and again, you know, without something like Entomb, without Leoric, that looks a whole lot different, right? It's very difficult for you to lock someone down in such a position, because you can't cleanse an Entomb, you can't remove an Entomb, and not that you know Decker's going to be having cleanse in that moment, but you can't remove that kind of situation.
It was tough. I think the pick. I mean, we talked about post level 13 getting onto the Gul'dan, finding the opportunities there. Johanna. I mean, Hooligans play to make sure. I mean, it is a wind up when you're stay a while and listening, and every time there was the bless shield, there was something in response that we saw every time from Hooligan to counter that, and they just did not have the follow up beyond that.
Is it important, Dread, here, that as we're going on to the next battleground, what do you think is going to be?
Praxis.
Surely it has to be, right?
As long as they took